Hello and warm welcome to yet another exciting edition of our special new program called Talk to Alkamba Times. My first guest for this show is Dr. Mimi Fatou Sise, a journalist, psychologist, marriage and family therapist. We'll be talking about mental health and family well-being in the Gambia, bridging gaps through therapy, support and awareness. Dr. Mimi is also a columnist with the Alkamba Time, and she has written extensively about some of these issues. Although some critics argue that her writings are very controversial, even though they are very educative and bridging the gap that many people are struggling with mental health. We'll take a quick break, and when we are back, we will introduce our special guest for the Talk to Alkamba Times. This is our first median edition of the show, and we will continue to bring in experts in different fields from all walks of life. We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back, wherever you are joining us. This is Talk to Alkamba, the first median edition of this special conversation happening here live on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and also on Twitter. Our special guest for Talk to Alkamba is Dr. Mimi Sise, who will be talking about mental health and family well-being in the Gambia. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mimi. I think this is your first major interview since you started writing about family therapy, family awareness, and also marriage as well as mental health. So this is an opportunity for a lot of people who have been following your writing for the past year or so to have an opportunity to hear from you. Welcome to the to Talk to Alkamba Times, Mimi. Mimi, it seems you are on mute. Can you unmute your? I can hear you. Can you hear me, Mimi?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get my question, or should I repeat it?
One more time again, sorry.
Okay, we're having some issues, but it's settled down. For those watching, this is the first edition of Talk to Alkamba Times, a new program that will feature experts in different walk of life. Our first guest is Dr. Mimi Sise, a columnist with the Alkamba Times. Mimi has been written extensively on mental health issues, family support, and therapy. Today, we'll have an opportunity to discuss with her on some of these very important issues that is affecting our community. Mimi Sise, welcome to
Mhm.
Talk to Alkamba Times. You are our first guest, and you happen to be our columnist. So we have a lot to discuss. Welcome to the Talk to Alkamba.
Thank you. Wow, what an honor. It's very humbling, just being on your show and then the first guest. Wow, thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Okay.
It means a lot to me being on your platform. And I also want to thank the Alcamba Time, the whole entire team for publishing the articles and creating a space for me as a journalist and also make me part of your incredible Alcamba Times family. So I'm humble and I thank you for the invite and the opportunity to be on the show today.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mimi. In some quarters, you are just that controversial writer who talk about issues many will describe as no-go area. But then we have at least almost 1 hour to discuss and to discuss this very important topic. So before we go, Dr. Mimi, welcome. And can you introduce yourself and share what led you into psychology, journalism, marriage, and family therapy?
Wow. I am looking forward to the 1 whole hour of interview and, of course, the controversial part, which I still kind of find it very interesting that I'm controversial when I'm just trying to help. But, anyways, just a little bit synopsis about who I am. My name is Dr. Mimi Fatou Sise. I am in my final year of dissertation in my doctoral. I have my bachelor's degree in communication and technology. That's where I got my journalism from. And I have my master's degree in psychology, human services. And my concentration is marriage and family, marriage and family therapy. So that's why I talk a lot about, relationships, especially when it comes to the marriage and family dynamics, because that's what I've learned. I wrote a thesis on a dysfunctional family dynamic, and that's what really, really intrigued me into really doing more thorough research about family and the dynamic of family, and also understanding some of us why we behave certain way,
Yeah.
our dispositioning from our childhood, and some of our environment that we grew up in, our ideology, our viewpoints, our standpoints, that all combined together create us as an adult. So it's very intriguing. My journey in psychology wasn't even part of, how to say it again, my dream growing up as a little girl. I loved theater as a little girl. I loved the whole theater, the genre of film, and moving to New York, I did all of that, the modeling part, the acting part. And till I lost my mother in 2015.
Oh, sorry.
So it's alhamdulillah. And I went through what I didn't know was depression. I suffered, and a year and a half later I lost my father too.
Yeah.
So it took me in a very dark spiral in finding who I am without my mother, and also without my father, and being the oldest in the family. So I have to support everyone, but I never had support myself.
Mhm.
So with that journey, I was able to discover therapy. I know, right? At that age, I was able to discover therapy, and I was able to talk to great people and strangers that don't know my background, but they were kind enough to help me get through it. And with that, I told myself, hey, if a stranger can help me get through this difficult time of my life, I owe it to someone too. So that's what quest into my psychology field. And I went back to school, and I minored in psychology in undergrad. And then from there, I was like, something about this just gives me, I want to learn more. I want to know more. And then I went back to school again for my education to get my master's, which was very intense for me because it challenged me mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I have to learn to unlearn everything that I was
Mhm.
taught as a little girl growing up. And with that knowledge, like they always said, if you have the finding knowledge and getting the quest of knowledge, if you cannot
Mhm.
share it with the people that are dear to you, and to me, charity begins at home. And I see that what that knowledge did for me personally and is doing for me on a daily basis, I don't think it's fair if I can gatekeep all those information that I've learned. So I decided to start sharing it. That's why when you came up with the idea of a columnist,
Mhm.
I told you, I said, what I'm gonna write about, it's gonna be very thought provoking. Because it's something that it's truth, and sometimes truth hurt.
Mhm.
And when we go back again to childhood drama, to our dispositioning, being an adult and trying to find who we are, and it all stems from that environment. So, how do we discover who we are without going back to connecting to that little boy or little girl that went through all that trauma without really getting the help and the support, and so she can connect or he can connect with the adult body that he or she is in? So that's why, I write about family dynamics because that's what
Mhm.
I've learned. I've learned that the family dynamic therapy and the importance of communication within ourselves. And And going back again to those wounds, to those wounds. And if you look at most of my articles, I always end up in healing, because if you don't know, you don't know, and
Mm.
ignorance is a bliss.
Yeah.
So if I know something you don't know, I can't. Me coming to you without really explaining it to you in order for it to make sense will just be me just pounding information onto you without really making it clear. Because sometimes just because we are adult doesn't really
Mhm.
mean our mindset is the same, our thinking is the same, our environment might be similar, but again, our dispositioning is not the same. So that's why I write those articles. And just to set disclaimer out there, I'm not here to create any chaos in any family or any marital home.
Yeah,
Just
some of your critics argue that your writing is creating some chaos in their household, but we will discuss about that. Mimi, you talk about your experience, which has shaped you into who you are today. You lost your both parents, your dad and mom. I'm sorry about that. You went into depression, and then now that those has informed what you are doing right now. A lot of Gambians are going through mental health challenges, mental health crisis. We have seen it. But, in the Gambia, it's like a taboo to talk about some of these issues. And now you are breaking the skin. You are openly talking about it using your own experience. What make you come out to talk about these very sensitive issues, which are, no-go areas in our community setups? Take us through your depression, how you were able to overcome it, and now providing a lot of awareness for a lot of young boys and girls who are facing a similar situation like you.
Yeah, thank you. MK, like I always tell people, um, experience shapes who we are. And with experience, we are able to truly find who we truly are during the experience. And so when I lost my mother and my father, then I was married to my son's father, and I had to go through a divorce because that particular moment I lost me. So I
Mhm.
couldn't really connect with who I am. So I went through depression. I didn't know. So the only outlet was I just have to leave. I have to go. I have to leave. I have to leave. And of course, now looking back, I just wish I had someone that I can talk to that kind of understand me, that can relate to my story, that can relate to my childhood, where I can go and be like, oh yeah, I grew up in this environment. Could that be a possibility? Maybe that's the reason why I behave certain way. Maybe this is
Mhm.
the reason why I ran away instead of facing my fear. Because my mother was such an important factor in my life. She was my shelter, she was my shield, and losing that part of me, and I didn't know again how to connect with self.
Mhm.
So what therapy did for me is it made me go back to the little girl,
Mhm.
that little 7-year old, the little 5-year old that used to wonder, and I had to go connect back with her.
Mhm.
And what therapy did for me is I was able to forgive her. I was able to forgive myself.
Mhm.
And with that, I was able to take accountability of my life and my choices and the actions that I make moving forward. So that's why when I write about these things, I'm not writing because I want to write about something that's going to create chaos.
These are deeply a personal experience for you. And when
Yeah.
you write, one can see one can relate and see the connection in it, because these are things you experience firsthand. And as I said, a lot of other women or a lot of other men out there are facing similar situation, but they are afraid to come out to talk about some of these issues affecting them, like depression. So, what word do you have for people who are going through this? What do you want them to do? Because the society, want us to think the way they want us to. They want us to do the way they want us to do things. And a lot of people are afraid to come out, but you have break that silence. You have given courage to a lot of young girls and men to come out and be confident and discuss issues of depression, psychology, family therapy. So, what word do you have for people, who are watching right now and are going through depression? Because you can see someone, especially in a Western world like the US, there is a lot of things happening here. All those are combining factors for depression, So, you never know whether they are depressed because they're showing you those beautiful smiles. But behind those smiles, there is something that lies behind. So, what word do you have for those struggling with depression and mental health issues?
Yeah, thank you for the great question. It's a very broad question, and I love how much we pointed back to the importance of healing. So to me, in order for you to know that you are depressed, you have to know that you are depressed.
Yeah.
And how do you know
You
you
have
are
to
depressed?
accept that reality, which is
Exactly.
difficult.
Yeah, it's accepting, knowing it first before accepting the fact that you're depressed is also another one. So all this all stems to finding who we are. So if you pay attention to the way we are dispositioned back home, we are all conditioned to perform. This is the role of a girl. That's how a girl child should be. This is the role of a boy. This is how a boy child should be. So when you go back to that childhood trauma, we are all displaced because the gender role that they enforce in us, we cannot perform in that gender role without really knowing who we are, which is self.
Mhm.
So that's the hardest part about breaking that cycle. Remember, this is something that you were molded to believe that you are supposed to be. So now Dr. Vivi is telling you that your whole entire childhood is a lie. So how do you go back and unlearn everything else in order for you to accept yourself? That's where self comes in place.
Mhm.
Because in order for you to become anything, you have to know who you are first.
Yeah.
Knowing who you are, meaning you have to connect with self. Connecting with self, that means you have to be grounded. Being grounded means you have to be very humble. Because remember, knowledge is a quest. You can't be arrogant. You can't be outspoken. You can't be talking over people if you want to learn. So that's where the humbleness comes in place. Because when you are humble, you hear people, you listen to people, you just don't respond. So all that all stems from our childhood dispositioning. So the advice that I will have for people that maybe think like they're going through a depression,
Yeah.
they think that they're not well, is for them to go back and reflect.
And
Because
discover
reflecting,
self.
yeah,
Mhm.
reflecting means you can discover who you truly are. But if you don't have the time, you don't want to spend the time with who you are, it's going to be hard for you to tell what's really wrong with you because it's a lot of distractions. It's a lot of performance. We are performing every day. Even when we are alone, we can't even enjoy our lonely space because you have to be on the phone, you have to watch TV. It's too many distractions. So that's why it's important when we talk about self, we have to also make sure we we don't forget the importance of theology. We have to also embody religion because spirituality is the most important part of being who we truly are. But again, religion is great, but religion is just a pathway in finding who we truly are. But if you are not spiritually inclined with who you are, you can't perform a religion properly. So it becomes more of a performance based than discovering who you truly are. Because if you discover yourself, religion becomes easy because religion keeps us humble and grounded. So with that humility, you will tend to find out. You have to reflect. And reflecting sometimes hurts because remember, you have to face yourself. That's where the integrity comes in. And some people are there, they're so busy with all the external in their environment, they self-destruct themselves without really sitting down and say, hey, let me close my eyes for 5 minutes. Let me meditate. Let me come back to who I am. But again, if you don't know who you are, how can you come back to who you are? So that's where the
Absolutely.
quest of finding self, it's very, very important. We use theology, we use spirituality because we are all spiritual beings. And religion is just a form of us, a pathway of discovering who we truly are. But again, all that too, you can be religious, but if you're not spiritually inclined with who you are, you become a
Mhm.
performer. So, and that's what we have in our society where they put these things on you, where it's like, oh, just go pray. How are you going to pray to the divine when you don't even know who the divine is?
Mhm.
In the Quran, they said it without Allah said, know me before you worship me,
Yeah.
which is so profound. But how can you know Allah if you don't discover who you truly are within yourself, which is the integrity? Just because no one is watching you, what you're doing, is it right or wrong? Just because no one's seeing you, what you're doing, is it right or wrong? So it becomes a question of self. So until you discover who you are, you can't know if you're depressed because too much distractions, too much things around you, and it's easy to just blame anything instead of taking accountability. And part of
Absolutely.
finding self is you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to know that, hey, I was wrong. How do I make it better? How do I create an environment where I can feel free and be the best version of myself, which also comes with accountability. So you cannot really find healing without holding yourself accountable. You can't know if you are depressed without really facing self. So that's another thing. We gotta just quest in finding self. Find
But
who you are.
Mimi, a lot of people find it very hard to discover self, who they are. And, you don't tend to blame them. That's where support, care, and awareness comes in.
Absolutely.
Your role is very crucial in trying to help people to, find who they are. Mental health, healing, spirituality. These are very interconnected. A lot of
Yeah.
people go through this phase, in mental health crisis. From experience, what are the first red flags of depression and mental health that when you see, you must seek for support? In the US and in Europe, it's easy to find support. But
Mhm.
where we all come from, a small country of 2.5 million, we have a lot of mental health crises, and people don't actually know how to help those who are struggling with mental health. At the end of the day, they even make the situation worse for victims of mental health and depression. What are the red flags, and what can we do to help those we see those red flags in quickly?
So, unfortunately, we can't really see the red flag when it comes to depression because I can look like this and you can
Yeah,
look like that, and we are
yeah.
all suffering in
In
silence. We're
silence,
suffering
yeah.
something internally. So, again, we have to go back to the quest of self and the people
Yeah.
that are close to you. I started a show a few months ago when I was talking about the personality disorders,
Yes.
and of course, I had a lot of backlashes on those. But if you look at those personality disorders, because remember, these I talk about marriage a lot because that's what I've learned, that's what my expertise are, that's where I can talk about because those are what I know. I don't know about any other relationship but the dynamic of marriage. So these things, unfortunately, only a person that's close to you can pay attention to some of these signs of personality disorders. But again, if a person can pay attention to those signs, is able to tell or able to pinpoint that maybe something is wrong with me. But again, how am I going to accept that something is wrong with me if my state of mind is not inclined where it's okay for me to take advice from MK? It's okay for me to take advice from the person close to me if I don't believe that nothing's wrong with me. You see, that's also another thing. So the problem we have in Africa right now when it comes to mental health is the space. We don't have a space for healing. We
Mhm.
don't have a space to listen to people. We don't have a space where it's okay for you to come talk about what happened to you as a child, and you are safe. You are safe and there is no judgment. We don't have that. We talk about sutura, but we don't really have sutura because what we have is literally making the situation worse for any victim that's suffering from mental health because it becomes more of an exposure thing. You have family has friends, and friends have friends. So instead of that sutura, it becomes more of exposing. That's
Mhm.
another thing that we should definitely focus on when it comes to mental health. But again, we are all suffering. Like I was telling my professor the other day, I said where I came from.
Mhm.
I tell people specifically, my goal is not the Gen X's. My goal is not the baby boomers. My goal is not the great generation. My goal is not the silent generations. My goal is to some of the Gen Zs and some of the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas and the Gen Betas. Because when you look at us, we are all already messed up because the foundation of making sure that we have that space, we never had that. So now we are just here, just questing and finding who we truly are based on what society expects us to be, based on our environment, adapt to the environment. So when you look at in Africa, it's almost the margin is almost like if it's not even probably more people are suffering than the majority of the people. But again, how do you know you are suffering? That's the question. And that's the question that we should start normalizing. It's okay for you not to be okay. It's okay for you to sit down and then express how you feel without you being
Mhm.
judged. We have to be very mindful when we are listening to each other. We have to be very mindful. But again, how can you be mindful when yourself is dysfunctional?
Mhm.
How can you listen when you don't even have the capacity to find who you truly are? So I'm talking about a system that's already been affected. The domino effect is just keep going and keep going. So the question is, how do we stop it for the next generations? Because we are already in the sinking hole right now. It's more of now who is getting the experience and the knowledge to grab one person at a time, one person at a time. Because remember, we are all sinking. So how do we get out of the sinking hole? So that's where I come in. And most of my writing, I create stories in my writing. I created because that's where through storytelling, because I love storytelling, through storytelling, you can identify, you can maybe hear, maybe you can see yourself through the Mudu and Fatu's dynamic.
Mhm.
Maybe you can understand why Mudu behaves certain way because it's all about storytelling. But again, we have to normalize the importance of finding who we are first in order for us to even give a space to listen to someone that's suffering from mental health. So that's why it's a domino effect. So instead of me looking at MK like, okay, I hear you, MK, we're going to walk through this. Instead, I'm going to go to Pate. Hey, Pate, hey, do you know what happened to MK? Oh my
Yeah.
God, I heard that MK is in Tanka Tanka, excuse my
Yeah.
French. MK is this. Oh, somebody. So it becomes more like, because remember, we are all bleeding. So if you are bleeding, how can you stop somebody from bleeding without
Mhm.
you taking care of your own wound first? So that's the reason why the mental health, mental illness issues is just keep amplifying because we don't really have a way to to
Help,
to
you know.
to, to
Mhm.
fix to fix that one person that's going to eventually fix the next and the next. But how can that person that's being fixed, how can we allow the person that's being fixed to have fixed the next us? That's the problem because
Mhm.
that's where the controversial comes in. Maybe it's controversial. I'm not controversial. I'm talking about the reality of the fact of the dynamic of a marriage. And when it comes to our adulthood, we are all fighting the inner childhood in us that was never pampered, that was never cared for, that was never nourished, that was never loved properly. Because how can your parents love you when your parents' love is all they know is what they receive from their parents? So you see, and then now we are in the era where mental illness is becoming a phenomenon, and I love it. And I love the space for it, and I love to talk about mental health because at the first time in the century of the 21st, we are normalizing to be okay. It's okay not to be okay.
Mhm.
So, which is
Absolutely.
great, which is a phenomenon, which is opening a dialogue space, which is making people understand that I behave this way because of when I was a child, I was not my mother's favorite. When I was a child, I was not my father's favorite. I watched my mother being abused by my father. I watched my father being abused by my mother. These are important space because this is the reason our experience as childhood is who we are carrying as adults. So we are all big kids. And that's why I love this space. That's why I love to talk about mental health. That's why I
Mm.
love for us to come together and understand that, you know what, it's okay not to be okay.
Okay.
Me is not okay and I'm okay. So how can we all be okay?
Yeah, it's not. It's okay not to be okay, and no means no. Mimi, thank you for that brilliant expose. We have a lot to discuss within this short time frame. I will try to, ask all the very pertinent questions I have. Mimi, you have a dual role. How do your dual role as a journalist, a therapist, shape the way you view and address mental health issues in the Gambia and beyond? Because you tend to wear a lot of caps. People know Mimi as a fashion model, a TV host, a family coach, and now a mental health advocate. So how do you this dual role, shape the way you view mental health issues?
That's a good question. The dual role part, I wish I could take, ownership of it. But I look at it more of like I'm transiting to the next version of myself. I have this idea of who I am. I always want to be better than the person that I was yesterday. I want to be better than the person that I was a second ago because I have to learn to hold myself accountable and responsible for my actions. So the journalism helped me discover a voice. It helped me discover a space where I get to enjoy people tell their stories. So that's why if you pay attention, my journalism is mainly storytelling because I grew up around my mother. May her soul rest in peace. She loves telling, when we were a kid, especially when lights were off, and she always tell a story time, which is telling. And
Yeah.
I love stories. I love story time. I remember I will wake her up and be like, nah, the light is gone. Light no tata, naina telling lambolgeng. And then, she will wake up and then she will tell us telling. So I love stories at a very young age. And I love to listen to people's story. So that's why as a journalist, I focused on the storytelling part. Because I tell myself, hey, who is the best person to tell your story but yourself, right?
Mhm.
The more stories we tell, the more we can relate. The more stories we tell, the more we can connect. So that's where the journalism part comes in. So the psychology part, it's always part of communication because when you look at communication, it's a transaction. We have
Mhm.
the encore, we have the decor, and then we have the transaction. So it's no longer about communication. It's no longer about what the person is saying. It's no longer about you trying to respond to what the person is saying. It's more of understanding where the person is coming from. That's where the mindfulness comes in. That's why, when you're having that transaction, it's okay for you to breathe, to listen to the person so you can understand where they're coming from. So that's where everything entwined with each other because it's communication, it's psychology. And now when I do observation, I'll sit down for 12 hours without saying a word. I just observe. So that particular moment, I can't be on my phone. I can't be distracted. I have to watch someone so I can sit back and write
Yeah.
what I've watched, what I've noticed. So it doesn't really take a normal skills to do it. You have to really, really, really have what we call to be an empath to understand that wow, I'm watching this person really struggling. A person came in, they want to come, they want to take their own lives. So how do you make them understand that their life is worth living for? So all that experience is paving me to become this fierce doctor where
Mhm.
I am relentless, I am unapologetic in the way I deliver certain things, and I will apologize because the intention is not to make anyone upset,
Yeah.
but the intention is mainly
To
to
educate.
unpack,
Mhm.
because You are angry only because something affects you. You're not angry because of what I'm saying. It's what I've said, how it made you feel. The reaction is what causes anger. So it's not me. It's
Yeah, your critics will be right. Like the topics that you talk about make them very uncomfortable. Like one of your writing was on cultured male African child. An independent woman being raised. And yeah, yeah, on and also you talk about polygamy. You are someone who doesn't like polygamy, and where we come from, a predominantly Muslim country, people are very polygamous. Our dads married two, three wives, and Mimi is here. He's talking about, no to polygamy. This is a very uncomfortable truth to many men, so they tend not to like, those kind of writings. But Mimi is here to, educate people about, some of these important things. Mimi, what's your take on polygamy? Because you write a lot. A lot of people don't see your face talking. So this is an opportunity to, open up to some of your writing. Why are you writing about polygamy? And you said that polygamy is not a 21st century thing, and it will fail. And you got a lot of backlash from men who want to be polygamous. And some of them are watching right now.
No, first of all, I want to apologize because my intention is not to make anyone upset,
Yeah.
and my intention is not to go back in time and recreate what was created. That's not my intention. So if you pay attention to what I've said, I said my goal is not the millennials, it's not the Gen Y, it's not the baby boomers, it's not the great or the silent generations. My goal is for the Gen Z, some of them, and then the alpha and the betas. That's where my concentration is. Because when you look at the dynamic of polygamy, what people don't understand is it worked back then. Because remember, there was a system that was created where, of course, they brought the patriarchy, they brought a religion that was more culturalized than more of the religion belief itself. So they created polygamy because it worked then, where women were, mainly they were not educated. If you pay attention to the history of
So,
Africa,
so Mimi, I don't wanna cut you short, but when you say polygamy works, then you mean our dads did a great job. So why is polygamy not working now?
no, a polygamy didn't even no no no. What I meant that it worked then, the dynamic worked then.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Polygamy never worked. Polygamy never worked because before you know polygamy never worked, ask a child that grew up in a polygamy environment. The person will tell you exactly what they endure growing up in that environment, the favoritism, the chaos within
So you
the
think there is no
same.
fairness or equality in polygamous?
Never. It will never be equal, and it's never a fairness. And when you look at the primary reason for polygamy back then, because I had to talk to a lot of people back then, my father, and then the men that were practicing it then, they were all concentrating on one thing. Because remember, back then Africa was a very, very third world country. We had the least population. So I think what they created then, where they made it so culturalized, was for us to create more babies, more kids, because then Africa will mainly we depend on farming. Yeah? So the more children you have, the bigger your land is. The more children, so you can see where it was, but it was never about love. It was never about partnership. It was more like marrying women, conditioning them. They have to obey and abide by the rules. And I am the breadwinner. I am the husband. What I say goes. You see the problem? So those women, they were silent. Those women, they didn't have a choice. Back then, you said a woman is not even supposed to be outspoken. A woman is supposed to be quiet. Whatever the husband said, the woman do, because there was limited to no resources then for women, but being a wife. So that's why when we talk about polygamy, then women were just used as object, baby making machines. And there's some men who still say, especially the ones that are so misogynist, they'll come and say, yeah, a woman should just go in the home and cook and make babies and stuff. And that was the norm back then. So now time has changed. Now you're talking about women that are like educated enough, women that are able to have their own financial security, women that are able to stand on their own. So that dynamic is not going to work then. Then you have a man that's controlling women. And if you pay attention to the dynamic itself, it never worked because at the end of the day, there's so much drama within that family dynamic because when a woman is not safe, when a woman is not feel, protected, it just brings so much chaos in her, and that woman cannot birth any good or any child that's going to be also created in love. So we have women that were giving birth to children that even conceiving those child there was no love. So you wonder why our, no matter what, our system will always be like that. Our system will always be going back again to that same root where, you know a woman that's not safe give birth to a child. How can you expect that child to be successful in life? The only successful children that you see when you go to the procreation of making child is a child that was conceived in love. And you can ask mothers that had two, three kids. They see their kids, they all grow up in the same environment, but their behavior is not the same. It's through the procreation of the child. So if you are married to a woman where back then those women were just objects. You sleep with her, she become pregnant, you have a child. That's a dysfunctional child because the woman's state of mind is not even okay. Because remember, she's competing for a man's attention. The men have other women. Those women have issues among themselves. So it created nothing for Africa but dysfunctionality. And
Yeah,
when
but Mimi, a lot of people will disagree with you because they believe that polygamy is a part of a religious obligation, kind of like Islam has permitted, men to marry up to three, four wife maximum, and then and they trying to fulfill that religious obligation. So that's why whenever you talk about polygamy, you see a lot of backlash because men feel that you are trying to destroy that part of their religious obligation. What do you think?
Well, again, it goes back to conditioning, and then when you want to go back again to the theology part and the religious part of polygamy, when you go back in time, the prophet was married, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam
Yeah.
was married to Khadija
Mhm.
for almost 20 years,
Yeah.
and he never had another wife till when Khadija passed, and when they had that war where most of those men died, and in theology, because I'm not religious, but I have to learn the religion because I have so many religion in my head. Christianity, Sikhism, you have a Buddhism. I've learned all of that. But so in Islam, primarily, why polygamy was permitted for the first reason was because of that. So it wasn't because of love. It was more of taking care of your fellow friend's wife because you can't really do anything for a woman if she's not your mahram. So that's why it was collectively they chose that number because that's how many people passed and their wives were there and their kids. That's where polygamy makes sense. Even in this particular generation, the men that are screaming about polygamy, they're not even thinking about the reason why polygamy is permitted at the first place. For example, if you have a wife, you've been married to your wife for so many years, you guys don't have kids, and then you come and talk to her, hey, there's this orphan down the street lost both their parents. I want to take her up on as a second wife. I
Mhm.
want to help her. That woman will not have any issues with that. And for example, somebody lost their husband and then they have kids, and you go and tell your wife, hey, I see this woman, she's a widow, and she have all these kids, I want to help her. That's why polygamy is more of a responsibility. But we're talking about now when men are using polygamous as a ticket of just normalizing sleeping around with different women. And if you pay attention to most of those men in this particular generation, they are all broken. Those are men that can't really connect with who they truly are. Those are men that are so dysfunctional within themselves. Those are men that needs to do a lot of deep thinking because those are men that actually saw their mothers being abused, with their father. Those are men that grew up in an environment where they never really have a motherly love. So they look for women as an object because a true man in his true divine masculinity, in his true divine self, cannot be with more than one woman. Because
So
remember,
Mimi, you wrote about it being in polygamy, that there is no love, because you claim that a man cannot love more than two women.
yeah,
And we have also seen from our communities, our parents or our dads, having three, four wives, but they seems to be happily living, bearing a lot of children, and they live together in harmony.
yeah, because remember the harmony that you saw. I'm sure if you saw with your mother, that harmony that you saw as a boy, a boy growing up, and the harmony that your sister saw as a little girl growing up is not the same. Because I even wrote about African men with a princess treatment. Because remember, the boy child and the girl child at certain age, at the age of 5, 6, 7, all the way to teenage life, we tell the girl child, learn how to cook, learn how
Yeah.
to clean,
Yeah,
learn
those
how
are
to
the
look after.
gender roles we
Which is
we have.
wrong, which is wrong. That's the whole problem of the gender role that they told us growing up. So you see now, you are preparing the girl child to be one thing to solve the boy child, which is from another family. You cook, you clean, you do all these things. You wake your brother up to come eat breakfast, and then the boy will get up, and then after that, they go play outside. It was normal. That's a little boy. You're not supposed to be in the household. Go play outside. A little girl, what are you doing? You don't need to be playing outside. Come back in your house and do house chores. So that's the problem we have. So we're raising this boy child instead of giving them the role of waking up in the morning, clean up the house, go to the market, go fetch water, go help your mother in the kitchen, go you and your father, all that misgender role identity. That's the problem we have in Africa. So we have boys that grow up looking for the sister in their wives. You have wives that will groom just to serve their brothers. You remember, they've been serving their brothers their whole life. So when they are married, they also go serve the husband. So the effect continues, which is so wrong. So that's why if you pay attention to the African boy child, we talk about mental illness right now. We talk about everything that's going on right now. It stems to one thing only is laziness. It's laziness, because remember, the idle mind is one of the most dangerous mind for anyone to have. But if you grow up in an environment where they tell you to go play all the time, you won't even have an idea of finding who you are. You look at the girls, you can bring a 15-year-old African girl in America, you bring a 15-year-old African boy in America. By the time they are 40, the 15-year-old boy's been through so much trouble, but the African girl at the age of 15 that you brought here is so well rounded. Is so centered, is so groomed. Because remember, as a child, she already assumed that role. But we don't even have creativity in the African boy child. Most of them are so, they live in a world where they have too much expectation, things to be done for them. My brother is in Europe, my sister is in Europe, they owe me. They have to look after me, because remember, these are boys that were looked after their whole entire life. Even when they're adults, you see them working 2 3 jobs, but all they do is complain. It's like, who are you working for? Why are you complaining? You can't even be creative, because your whole entire identity is, I'm tired, I work hard. That's what you're supposed to be. As a husband, as a man, your role is one thing only, to serve. But you cannot serve if you are disconnected with who you truly are. That little boy, that lazy child, you have to wake him up and make him realize that, man, I am lazy. But how do you accept that I'm lazy when everything is still being done for you as an adult? That is the problem. My problem is not polygamy. My problem is not, men coming after me.
Yeah, because that's the reality. I will talk about my own experience,
Yeah.
because this is a very interesting conversation. It's unlike my other shows where I am very blunt and tough, on issues. But this is more of a conversation, raising awareness, because we in the diaspora here, we face a lot of mental health issues, because when we come here,
Yeah.
we face the reality. I, for one, when I came here, I was able to do things that I was not doing back home, like helping my wife, do
Mashallah.
household, work, cleaning, doing the dishes and stuff. But before I even accept that reality, it takes some time. I will be like, hey, Christina, if you are in Gambia, I wouldn't do this. I won't clean the dishes for you. And he will be like, but here is not Gambia, here is America. We have to, so that was the reality I have to accept. And now, it's working for all of us. She will
Mhm.
do, cleaning, she
Yeah.
will do household cleanings, putting stuff together, and I will do the dishes. So we share roles, but where I
But
come from, I believe those gender roles are mostly for a woman, and I disagree now. It's simply because we are all equal in the sense that we all have roles and responsibility to play. So just
that's
to give
true.
you that experience, it took time,
But
and we fight about it. It took time before I accept the reality that I should be able to do the dishes, and I should be able to take the trashes, and I also should be able to do laundry during weekend.
yeah,
But she has been very supportive now that we are doing those, we are complementing each other, and it's working. But
I
before
love
I
it.
accept that reality, it takes a lot of time. Sometimes I'm doing this, is my mind will take me back to Kudang. Am I doing right? It looked like I'm a foolish man because I'm helping my wife clean the dish, because this was the mentality I had, that those are women role, to clean
Yeah.
the house, to take care of the kids, to take the trash. But I realized these are roles that each of the couples should do to help each other, Mimi.
Yeah.
So it's an
I don't
interesting.
I don't mean to cut you off, MK. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Now imagine if you came from Gambia and you married a Gambian woman. So you think all the experience we have with Christina, would it be the same? Because remember, we already are groomed to look after you. So that's the problem that a lot of men are having. So you were being honest and even speaking about it. It's
Yeah.
it's
And now
profound.
it's normal, it's okay. We're doing it very well. But before, it was a challenge because I have to prepare myself that this is okay. Initially, I thought it's not okay for me to do dishes for my wife.
Which is okay. Which is
But
okay.
now I realize it's normal to help your wife to do, dishes, take the trash out and stuff like that. Anyway, for those joining the conversation, this is Talk to Alkamba, the first edition of our special talk show. We'll be bringing this show regularly every week. Our guest today is Dr. Mimi Sise. She is talking about mental health, family therapy. She's so passionate about it, and she has a lot of experience in that aspect. Mimi, you talk about your writings talk about a lot of issues like raising a male child in a context that they need equal opportunities and access. Women should not be taxed to do specific things just because they are women. You are trying to bridge that gap, and you are raising a lot of awareness among our communities. My question is, why is family therapy particularly important in the Gambian cultural context? Because this is something that is lacking back home. People don't go in for therapies to check on, you, self, and also to take care of their mental health. Why do you think this is something that is very important in our Gambian cultural context now?
Because you have to understand that the most important relationship is the family. It's a husband and wife. because that's one of the most important relationships that anyone should have. Through that relationship, you birth in generations, and that generation will also carry on the experience they have as children, and then the story goes on and on and on and on, and it continues. So with the mental health crisis in Gambia, me personally, first of all, we have to reverse that gender role that we are all conditioned to believe the boy child should be the one cleaning, the boy child should be the one fetching water and doing all the chores. The girl child should only focus on one thing, which is education. Because when you look at the dynamic of the boy child, we say this, and I'm sure I can get backlashes for this. The boy child doesn't really grow after the age of 13 mentally. So based on the spouse they have, which is the woman, because remember, woman is the divine, woman is the real protector, woman is the real provider. The woman energy of a divine feminine is the only energy that can lead the boy child into manhood. So when you look at it, even the ones can sit here can argue with me. You see, I'm hardworking man. You are working for a female. If it's not your mother, your wife, your sister, or your daughter. So until and unless we break the cycle of normalizing the respect, giving the feminine woman, which is the female that at most respect in the household, the system of dysfunctionality will forever continue. So you talk about polygamy again in the 21st century. Why you think the West advanced, no matter what Africa does, Africa is always behind? Because the most important gender from the male and the female is the female. And in order for the female to be important, to be more useful to society, they have to be in their feminine energy, which is the divine femininity. When you look at the mother art, everything described in the art is the feminine role. So, but in order for Africa to progress, we have to break all the patriarchy, the religion belief that was instilled in us and mixed with culture by controlling women. We cannot control women if we want to prosper as a nation. We have to let women be in their divine femininity in order for the soil, Mother Africa, to heal. Because if not, the more the woman shed tears, the more dysfunctionality will come. The more pain you put on a woman, the more dysfunctionality, the land will never find peace. You look at the West, you look at the United States, the whole entire system is created for one thing, to favor the woman. The whole entire United States is here to protect the woman. Everything in this country is to protect the law, the order, is to protect the women. Because they understood how important it is for the woman to be in her feminine energy. Because with the feminine energy comes knowledge. With the feminine energy comes experience. With the feminine energy, you are able to help better. Because remember, a feminine energy is divine. And with feminine energy, you can even, the knowledge that a female can acquire goes beyond her. It goes beyond her children. It goes beyond her community. So until and unless Africa comes back and heal those wounds, Africa will always have the mental health issues among men. Africa will always have problems among each other. Africa will never unite. Africa will always have problems. The land will never find peace until and unless we as collective Africans, we start asking for forgiveness from the divine energy. You have a wife. How can you call yourself a husband when your wife is sitting down crying? How can you call yourself a husband when you are beating on a wife? Your wife, you beating on your woman, and you sit there call yourself a husband. How can you be a husband? All that karma that people don't understand is it affects you as a man. It affects the whole entire generation of you. So we talk about divine energy. We talk about theology and spirituality. We have to also focus on the realms that we have, right? So we live in what we call the three dimensions, the three realms, the three dimensions, sorry, which is when you look up and down, one, side to side, two, back and forth, three. So right now, all you have control over is your three dimension, what you can see around you. That's all you have control over. So the fourth dimension is called the time, which is now, Now, we don't have control over that. And then from that particular fourth dimension, we talk about the fifth dimension, which is dimension of the realm. That's where people dream. That's why we talk about spirituality. You have to connect with who you are. So with the fifth dimension, you're able to dream and manifest it back to the three dimensions. That's why Africa is so spiritual, but we cannot really conquer Africa or become what we are destined to become without connecting with spirit, which is Mother Nature, which is the African feminine energy, which is the most powerful energy. But again, we cannot live in that energy if the African woman is dysfunctional. That is
Yeah,
the problem in Africa.
Mimi, you talk about a very important issue here. That is where we are in the West here. Women are given, more protection
Yeah,
than men,
yeah.
and in Africa, it's opposite.
Opposite. Yes,
So,
yes.
do you think that that's a gap? Why Europe is doing well for women and Africa is lacking behind because we are not helping our women to become more independent. You claim that women have been used as object in marriage, like in polygamy. You think there is no love in polygamy because a man cannot love more than two women. And this is open to discussion. A lot of people are saying that's not true because we have seen successful polygamous marriage. And secondly, without polygamy, a lot of women wouldn't be able to get married because from data, especially in Gambia, you have more women than men. Therefore, men has to marry more more women in order to help those without husband.
That is true. I hear that a lot, which is so mind bothering because when you look at the population of the world, we have more men, men at 4 billion men, and we have 3.9 billion women. So I don't know sometimes where the data comes from. But besides the point, you can't even use that as a justification because if you pay attention to people that actually use that ideology of objectifying women again, thinking that they're doing a woman a favor by marrying her, that is the problem. That is the root cause of the problem because you're not looking at her as a human being. You're not looking at her as a partner. You're looking at her as, well, I'm doing her a favor. And marriage is not supposed to be like that. So until people start understanding that marriage is more spiritual than physical, that's why there's a law and governs. We have laws created by man when it comes to marriage, but there are law that's greater than man's law, which is the law of the universe. We call it the universal law, where spiritually a man can only be with one woman at a time. So you're having all those multiple women and all those women are broken, you are not benefiting from any of their energy. Because when you put those women in that category of, I'm doing her a favor, now I'm doing her a favor, I'm marrying you because you know what? I have space to marry up to four. So I'm just marrying women like object. So you as a man, not understanding that a woman's supposed to guide you. A woman is your guidance. The feminine energy is your nurturer. The feminine energy is the one that's supposed to lead you to your greatest version of self. If you have three or four of them, who's going to lead you? They all angry at you. They all hate you. They all don't love you. See, a man needs to be loved on. A woman needs love, but a man needs to be loved on because with love, a man can exude who he truly is. That's why we talk about that role is so important. But by using women like an object where you think you're doing society a favor when you are actually damaging society. And that's the problem we have in Africa. Any child that's not birthed, conceived in love, that child becomes a menace to society because it's very important the state of the mother is peaceful in order for the mother to birth a child that will become better, that will do better in the society. And that's what Africa never understands. Because you have to understand, I have to switch this up a little bit because I just don't want to be taken out of context. Nia can take a diamo men before.
Yeah,
Ite
we
nyalo
can speak in local language too
yeah,
for the for our audience who are watching. It's also okay. Yeah,
So
go
in
ahead.
a disclaimer, so niaje ya Africa keten ya lone ka for like muso ni muso ke ya dysfunctional muso ning ate sate de manola but it labang ko kono ya make sure ni ke killing ni muso killing, you see, because they know how important it is to muso you protect in order for a nation to move forward. But Africa niaje be more mele Islam not Africa fang, they don't even practice polygamy because they know how detrimental it can be for the family. If we can practice, but they brought that ideology and put it in the African minds. Africa kill male and could use the patriarchy to kind of like define what masculinity is, which is not true, which is not right. But you understand that. And so they Nariamo it can not online, you could even tell it in the library, poor different thing. What we can face, because what I'm facing right now, not classes, so not professor tema, is even harder. Because remember, even though like they can musome na musome alongo, as a generation falling no, for yame easy to every time I write is getting critic. Every time I write is getting critic. My mindset, my ideology. Sometimes I'll have a meeting and in 4, 6 different professors, and I have to sit down and I always have to make my case. So you guys have no idea. If anything, listen to what I'm saying. Mimi Mpukan saying,
Yeah.
you don't have to respect it, but listen and understand. Because Mimi Kekan, well, knowledge, we don't even have female psychology in the doctoral level,
Yeah.
especially family and marriage. Nte jani yen duni ni institutional kono. You interview le for 4 hours. I'm talking about 3, 4 different interviews.
Mhm.
Because they have to convince, if you convince Kafir like ni knowledge of based on about somebody mean dole.
Yeah.
Because ninga samba Africa, that means Africa the sulala to our lokate. Because
Yeah.
the same mindset they only use can more like dunia big dysfunctional. Because you only have like near Africa, Kenya, Africa, muso yo understanding sort of Africa is gonna flourish. The West, most of
Mhm.
but the only reason like in a Nimon Kadiam, Gafo Kwalta Karan, go get education. Because Niman Karan, it's easier for you to fall into victim into what the you're more colonized Nyaming, what our society should be, what our ideology, our standpoint, our disposition is. When they're destroying, you will destroy can. They will destroy can. So, but until and unless they're finding I realize for like Nimba Kika for so many years, but it never worked. Why
Mhm.
are we still struggling? We have everything. Nothing will
Mimi
taste in Africa.
ela safari do bije eko futu bunjama be boy kanne because ne ajibe musol sa ye fan sotole alo ne membe kere ete amira ko muna na futu jama be bankan sa because na jele Gambian jamal kela mol nat musol nat janne few years futu onye bang so mol ka foko ye musol nat janne kabri nya elta ye kol bula so ete woje nyadile.
Yeah, because yalo you may understand je wala mu futu amanke muso je do ya kanu ya futu. Futu is bigger than the 3 dimension. Futuo is actually sometimes in Kafo the religion, Islam or Konoko Futuo ya said arafle. I hear that a lot and I laugh because
Yeah.
it's somehow true
Yeah.
to it because it's more spiritual. So ite bita muso futula. Muso me alko mahana lomfa. Muso me alko muso ni man siye muso ni na e kacha ya long ka like ning be kana partnerity ni muso me alko la nasi kuo kenu mfaye. But again, ni de ke me falon isi muso futu no nyadile. So wala problem mo te mo jama bi ke muso futu kelka muso futu but kelka me falon. If you don't know who you are, who you truly are, how are you gonna go marry a woman? Because our baby tell the same dysfunctionality. Because it came here for long, you as a man, you don't even have an identity of who you are. Your whole entire identity is based on what you are supposed to be, not who you are supposed to be. So how are you gonna marry a woman and bring that woman into that dynamic? The woman is gonna tell that this man is even lost. How can a lost man guide a woman that's already divinely protected? The woman is already programmed to be a wife because the more you do with your brain, the more ideas you have. So we have women that are way smarter than men. Is it that America than 30 years? Is it that Gambia? You must have maybe 20 years. But you melon, it can be America jay malo.
Mhm.
Because that's also another problem. And you talk about the age gap too. It may fall on that as K. It's also futu no nyadile. Ni muso ni futu yana the problem with them. But again, we have to go back to finding who we truly are. Ni me follow, ibe fan kanula no nyadile. Ni man kanolo, ibe mo kanula no nyadile. So that's the problem that we have. Most of this household media ke muso nati muso abula after few years muso tala independence la. No muso mana fi independence la. Muso ya jele ka fla nin ke boarding lam. I am futu le kanati de prunga topoto. I am futu le kanati de prang ke I ka anati. I don't care the malbiji. That's how they think. Their mindset is near muso futu muso ke biko na plaso. And that's a very hard role.
Mhm.
It's a very hard role for any woman to be confined into a mother role. You raising a grown man child. Do you know how hard it is to live with a man? You know, based on my experience. You
No,
know,
no, Mimi, it's beautiful to live with a woman, especially
thank you.
if you love your woman, it's always
Yes,
joy to live in a very peaceful home. But
absolutely.
recently, trust me, we have seen unprecedented number of breakups, and
Mhm.
mostly, these breakups has led to a lot of problems, especially online. I don't want to talk about a particular case, but we have seen when women, break up with men. Now, what do? They go online and talk about what happened in their marriage, and
Mhm.
people are even using, online bullying to silence each other. So
Mhm.
Kule me alonko, is very concerning, and I
Yeah,
think it is as a result of marrying someone you don't know about,
yeah.
or marrying someone you share a whole total different ideology with. Because marriage mufende me alonko musonin kewolom adunalbe futuo kono ayente kela bunya ning horomo ledi. But sa bunya ning horomo man soto, we've seen people going openly to discuss, secrets in their marriage openly.
That
What
is
do you
true.
think about that? Is that harming marriages, or you think is part of woman's freedom to talk about issues that affect him in his marriage openly as a family counselor or family therapist?
No, no. Public fair is not a place to discuss any form of relationship or any form of a dynamic of a misunderstanding in the relationship. That's why we talk about the private sector of counseling. Well, I can
Yeah.
example, don't talk about marriage and family if you don't have a license. Don't talk about family
Okay.
and marriages if you don't have a degree to talk about it, because we all know the accountability that comes in that particular area, because it's very sensitive and it's very important. Well, like even in a family setting, when it comes to
Mhm.
counseling couple
Yeah.
and their family, we
Mhm.
do individually first. So
Okay.
based on the
Yeah.
individual,
Instead
we
of
will
them
determine
together.
together. No, we never put people together. We do it individually, and then it has to be in a quiet setting. Because remember, you're building trust with this person.
Yeah.
So you, as a counselor, based on the trust you build, sometimes we can be like, you know what? I don't think these people are ready to sit in one place yet. I don't think she's ready. I don't think he's ready. We have to make sure the timing has to be right, meaning they both have to be in the same frequency where they're able to communicate with listening to each other. So but when you create a social media, it's a public fair. That's why I tell people, man, just stop coming after me. This is a sport for me. Social media has nothing to do with my own personal life. What are you talking about? You know, sometimes I'm just like, man, you guys are just talking and you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. This is a public fair. You have your opinion. Anyone can open a social media, go on Facebook Live and
Yeah.
go on TikTok Live and talk. Talking is easy now. You just have your cell phone and your device and just
Yeah, yeah,
talk.
everyone is,
It's a
but
problem.
normally I see you like people will be like, I want to reach out to Mimi. So suddenly you will not talk to them openly, but you will send your email, yeah, for your calling safe, na ji duma, na kacha, and then I think you have done counseling and helped a lot of people who are going through this mental health crisis. So it's our phone. We don't have much time because the conversation is getting so interesting.
Oh my
So
God.
Momodou Lafta can reach out to Mimi, to talk about, what you're going through, especially on mental health issues. She's a family coach. She can help you get through your challenges of mental health crisis. So Mimi, you can
Yeah.
tell them your email, and then they can reach out to you,
Sure.
to get some counseling. But these are very pertinent conversation, and these are conversations we need to be doing, because Nea Jibe, we hardly talk about membe cake and na football because maslaha suturo, wole be caring because people are like, no, we can't talk about this. But if we can talk about certain issues also, it will be hard to provide solution to them. That's why, when we had that conversation a couple of months ago for you to come out, and then join our team to talk about, mental health, family issues, marriage, it has opened doors and opportunity for a lot of other people. Although,
Thank you.
you have your own share of the, backlash because you can do la lema, me along ko mo jama mu kala fi jema. That's why B nko nibe sila na kacha because mo jama kela safero leje they don't get to see you talk about these issues you are passionate. So
Thank
I'm very
you.
happy to host you here. So I will ask you another question on this family therapy because we are left with at least 15. But we'll be having more of this conversation. A lot of people are commenting. If you don't mind, I can, I can even read some of their
Oh,
comments.
sure.
Yeah, I can read some of their comments to you, and then, yeah, somebody said, MK, I agree with her. Cooking and other household, chores are social skill, not a gender role, should not be attributed to female child alone. That guy agree with you on that aspect. And I also agree with you because
Thank you.
I have my own reality check on that when I came to America when my
Thank
wife
you.
told me, "Hey, go, MK, go and do the dishes. Do this." I said, "No, I can't do this. I don't know how to do the dishes. It's like we have to, do it together." So, but now I accept that reality. Sana Bairo is saying, Mimi, do you understand the dysfunctional child? Speaking from psychological perspective, So I think that's a question or an observation. Yeah. And then he also said, I appreciate Mimi's writing, but many times he is incorporate so much emotion and personal feelings or experience into her writing rather than evidence based. Do you agree?
So okay, okay, I totally disagree. Just a
Yeah,
disclaimer out there. First of all, I
yeah,
want to thank you for the opportunity. And like you
yeah,
said, we don't have that much time. And I want
yeah.
to sincerely apologize if I've wronged anyone
No,
through my
you're good.
speaking, if I've wronged anyone through what I've said, because these are
Yeah,
messages that I had to be delivered. So
yeah,
the problem that we have in most marriages is what people don't understand is that woman, the husband, okay, husband are the initiator of marriage, but a
yeah,
woman is the foundation of a marriage.
yeah.
So that whole ideology of you bringing a woman here and controlling her financially, mentally, physically, physiologically, that's not going to work in this particular environment.
Mm,
So they also have to also factor that in, knowing that, hey, I am a servant to my wife. So most, like you said, when you were challenged to wash dishes, you felt like
yeah,
you were being insulted because
yeah.
remember your ego and your
I don't
pride.
know
That's a
that.
little
Yeah,
boy in you. That has
yeah.
nothing to do with the adult body. It's a little boy in you that's refusing to take order from a woman that's making you wash dishes. You see, that is the problem right there. So again, we talk about the marital dynamic. There's a difference between a man that wants a wife and a man that's ready to be a husband. Being a husband comes with a lot of responsibility. Being a husband is you are a servant to your wife. Being a husband is a giver. Being a husband is a servant to your wife. So that is the only way a marriage works. That's why when you see most of these rich people, they only have one wife and they are so in love with their wives. But again, in our culture, when a husband loves their wife, what do they say? Nyemenu jabaram, the faragal jabaram, asirandal muso nyale, nina muso
Yeah,
leka control.
yeah.
It's like
Musoya
they don't
control, and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly because
yeah.
the man is smart enough understanding that nina muso, if my wife is safe, I'm providing for her. She's not gonna leave me. My wife is safe. I'm advising her. I'm making sure that whatever I do, I involve her in it. She's not gonna leave you. But you brought a wife here just like a machine and an object. She's gonna leave you. And I'm telling every woman out there that's watching you, if your husband brought you here, is not connecting with you, making sure that you are involved in all his decisions. Question the reason why he married you. Please question that man. And it's okay. And if he doesn't want to talk about it, that means you're an object. I'm sorry. because that's not gonna work in this 21st century. You can't bring a woman here like an object where it's a toy. Tabiro Kenya, you clean for me, you cook for me, just sit in the household. The moment you have a job, it's a problem. Or she thinks she's independent. I have one that actually called me and said, my husband said not to follow your page because you're not a good
Yeah,
influence.
but Mimi, from a religious point of view, iko musola arjano, musola sinkoto. Like they said, if a woman want to go to paradise, there are certain obligation he has to. This is what Islam said. He has to fulfill, and that's religious perspective. I know you might disagree with me, but I think that's very important also because we are talking about spirituality, faith, and religion. I know
Jahaga.
you are a Jahanga, and you guys are very religion. Your first thing you do, you go to Quranic school, and I know
Yeah.
you did some Quranic lessons, and you know very well about that. What do you have to say about that? Like paradise lies in the feet of a woman.
Of a
Like
husband. You
going to
mean a husband?
paradise.
Life.
Musosita no paradise. Very quickly by doing certain things for your husband because Islam itself said women should not actually Islam condemn abuse in any form against women, but it also make it known that a woman can go to paradise by fulfilling certain obligation for the husband or his
Yeah.
man.
The thing is, when they start bringing the religion and culturize it, I think that's
Yeah.
where I always get turned off. That's why I
Issues.
told them, I
Yeah.
said, I don't talk about two things. Don't put me
Yeah.
into religion context and
Yeah.
don't put me into politics. I don't talk
Yeah.
about these two things because
Yeah.
it's one of those topics where I can't raise my blood pressure up. You see,
Yeah.
that particular statement, where they said the heaven of the wife lies underneath the husband's feet. I
Yeah.
think that is one of the most diabolical comments I've heard, and I look at the men that says that, and I look at them like,
Mhm.
only if you know your heaven lies underneath that woman that you are disrespecting, because that woman is your divine protector. Your wife is your protector. So everything they told us is again is on the opposite side. Because how can you sit there talk about muso your arjano be singole case singole
Kewale Sim Koto, yeah, yeah,
when the
yeah.
particular kill from my alalong, the case is just a performer. You don't willing to celebrate my alalong because near alalong you muso horomalale near
Yeah.
alalong you
No,
muso
muso fa mu
bunyale.
bunya
Yeah,
talent, nye
exactly.
muso horoma, ya
Yeah,
bunya, damman for alhamdulillah, it's so good
yeah.
because women are a special breed. They need to be protected. They need to be loved. I agree. I love women and I protect women at all costs. That's why when I see certain men doing certain things online, especially insulting or bullying women, my heart bleed because I know how women should be respected because Allah Musul Dadale in a very unique and special form. I'm not saying this because I'm talking with you, but I have
Mhm.
high regards for my sisters, for my mom, and for my wife because I know, the importance of a respected woman like Nemuso from Bunya, Odamman Damanka Cairo Natile, you know.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That is so profound, but you are absolutely right about that. So, Fungasi, collectively, we understand the role of a woman first in our society before even marrying one. We have to know our role as a husband because there's a difference between a man that wants a wife and a man that's ready to be a husband. Remember, a husband is a servant to his wife. So, again, are you ready to serve your wife? If you're not ready to serve your wife, that means you're looking for a wife. Looking for a wife and being ready to be a husband is two different things. So I think that's a question that we should keep asking the men. We should keep asking ourselves before you put yourself in any marital dynamic. Because remember, in a marital situation, men don't grow. Women are the one that grows. So, based on the wife you have, that woman's growth span will help you elevate you or will help bring you down. So, how are you going to have a wife that was supposed to lead you as a husband in her true divine feminine energy if she doesn't feel safe to lead you? You bring in problems to her, you bring in another woman in the picture. You are nothing but you're going to keep losing because you are fighting the universal law. That has nothing to do with what religion created for us. That has nothing to do with what culture created for us. That is the fundament of the universal law. cause and effect. So you can't be drawing women and thinking you're gonna prosper. That's impossible. You will die alone, you'll be miserable, you will never find the connection of who you truly are with your heart. So we have men that are living shellless. They live in a very hollow because they don't experience love. Love to them is very weak. I can't love my wife, I can't show her affection because I'm gonna look like a weak man. Yeah? That's you lying to yourself, because remember we talk about integrity. So without you finding who you are, you have no right to go marry a woman if you're not ready to be a husband. I think that's the question that we should start asking these young men. Do not go to Africa and go bring a wife as an object. Ask yourself, are you ready to serve that woman? Are you
Yeah.
ready to serve that
Are you
woman?
ready? Are you ready to
Yeah,
serve that woman?
yeah.
That's the words of Dr. Mimi. So, men out there, Dr. Mimi is cautioning you that if you are not ready to take up a wife, do not go and bring a wife and then use her as an object. And she said in her writing that most marriages are falling because of polygamy. Polygamy will not work in 21st century. That's
Never,
a very interesting conversation. Guys,
never.
we are left with only 8 more minutes to round it up. But I'll be bringing Mimi, to be talking about these very important topics here. Maybe you should even come over and then host your own weekly show. You can talk to people about some of your
You
writings you have been doing. So it's always great to talk to you. If you can hear me, you put your camera off. I think you want to take a break, but we are almost there. I will ask you some few questions, one, two questions, and then we will wrap up this interview. Mimi, if you are there, you can. Mimi seems to be out quickly, but she will be back. We'll take a quick break, and then when we're back, we will try to bring in Mimi back to the show. It's a very interesting conversation right now, and then it's all about family, family, family. Yeah. Okay, Mimi is back. Oh. Welcome back, wherever you are joining us. This is Talk to Alkamba Times, our first medium edition of this special interview. With me in the studio is Dr. Mimi Fatusise, a journalist, psychologist, and marriage and family therapist. Mimi is talking to me live from Seattle, where she is currently based. We are talking about mental health and family well-being in the Gambia, bridging gaps through therapy, support, and awareness. Mimi, it's always great to talk to you. And then I'm inspired by your writings. I can tell you, even though they are controversial, others will be like, MK, why do you like to bring controversial women on you? I say, yes, because I want to give them a platform to express what they think is right and then raise awareness about issues because we can't all be thinking on the same line. So that's one reason I have Mimi on my platform, and I think he has created a lot of impact. You might not agree with her on some of the stuff, but her writings are always based on reasoning and evidence. So Mimi, finally, it's been a very great conversation. I enjoy it. I learn a lot from therapy because these are areas that are kind of new to many Gambians. In Gambia, mental health, we don't get the required support. If you have a mental health issues in the Gambia, all what they do is ala samba tanka tanka. If they take you to tanka tanka jani balon na ye kenol ke bulol ye city dula cling, and they don't even take good care. Instead of helping you overcome that mental health challenges, they even make wajabindi, make it even worse for you. So Mimi, let's talk about mental health in the Gambia. What do you think should be done to help people in the Gambia overcome their mental health challenges they are facing? Because right now, a lot of young people are going through mental health breakdown, and most of the time, they don't get the required help and support. I know the Ministry of Health is doing, efforts to revive a century-old law on mental health. I remember there was a review on it, to make it, inconsistent with international best standards on mental health. So what do you think should be done to help people in the Gambia overcome mental health challenges, and how can family help in that aspect? Yeah, Mimi, I can hear you. It seems you are on mute. Can you unmute yourself? I Yeah, I can hear you, but I think you are on. Can you hear me? I can't hear Dr. Mimi. Can you check your mic again? And then yes, you are talking, but I can hear you. Okay, Mimi will join me back again because it seems I can hear her well. Mimi, can you hear me now? Yeah, I can't hear you, although so I will bring you down and then yeah, you can come back again. Yeah, so that's Dr. Mimi speaking to me about mental health issues in the Gambia, family therapy. So she's gonna join me again because we are left with at least 3 more minutes to give her final closing before. Okay, Mimi is back, so let me put you on the stage. Yeah, Mimi, can you hear me now? Mimi, can you hear me now? Yeah, go ahead. Mm, your mic is not coming. Maybe you can check it again. I am not hearing you. Okay, go ahead now. I can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good, good.
Awesome. Sorry about that. I think the battery died.
Yeah, your battery. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry
We are
about
almost
that.
at the tail end, so you're good. But you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Sorry about that. Again,
No,
I
you're good.
apologize.
You're good. Go ahead.
Sometimes technology is just technology.
Yeah,
It's
go
its
ahead. Go
own
ahead.
thing, yeah?
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I guess first of all, how to reach out to me is you have to my email, askdrmimi2024@gmail.com. That's the best way to get in contact with me because my social media platforms are flooded with messages.
Yeah.
So Facebook is always crashing when I touch the messenger. And I'm sure a lot of people, trying to reach out to me through Facebook, which is the worst place to get in touch with me. So you can go through my email, askdrmimi2024@gmail.com. And that's the best way to get in contact with me. So for the question about the mental health state in health condition right now, particularly in the Gambia, you have to understand, in order for people to be able to help a person when it comes to mental health, you have to be well. So we have people that are not well. We have people that are struggling with mental health, mental illnesses, or mental health disorders. They want to help someone that's struggling. So I don't know if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
that's where the disconnection is because we have unwell people trying to help unwell people. We are all drowning. That is the number one problem right now. So, like I always said, that particular that space in mental health right now when it comes to Gambia, it has to be a domino effect. It has to be collective, meaning we have to normalize mental health first. We have to take the stigma out of mental health. We have
Yeah.
to sit there and
Yeah,
take.
stigma and discrimination is
Yes.
definitely not helping in trying to address the root cause of because Gambia, take for example, even someone is going through mental health crisis, ikafoko anyale mata o ya dokulo o jino lomo manke mo kendoti. That alone is not helping in your healing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. So we have to literally normalize that and take the shame and the taboo out of mental health first. Mental health and mental health first, in order for us to create that space. That's number one. Number two,
Mhm.
we're talking about the tanka tanka setting. I've never really been there. I know there's
Mhm.
not really positive things that comes out of there. So most of this, if you look at the mental health, is you look at the gender. Mainly, it's the boy child. The men are the one going through mental health. If you pay attention to the ratio of who's really struggling the most, it's the men.
Yeah.
But again, you go
Yeah,
back
men.
again to
Yeah, men are struggling in silence,
Yeah,
because of
because
the culture that because of that culture that men don't cry or men don't come openly, and that's affecting a lot of men. Mimi, I will tell you, namo jamalo namele alon ko silently they are going through depression, but they
Mhm,
don't get the support because how the society will
mhm,
perceive them. Because Nina the scientist, Ajibe, you are very comfortable talking about depression because you have experienced it first time, and then that's the experience you are building to raise awareness. How many people are like you to come and talk about your experience with depression?
mhm.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mimi. Yeah,
Can you
go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mimi. I can hear you. Yeah, you can go ahead. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. I think Mimi is having some issues with connection, but she will be back, and then she will give her final closing, and then we will close this interview. Talk to Alkamba Times. She's my first guest, and then there we go. Mimi is right here.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that. My internet, because there's some kind of a power outrage, so it's going in and out.
Yeah, we are done. We are done.
We're done.
The most important messages are out. So you're good. We are done. So finally, Mimi,
Yes.
your final take on this and any other advice, because I wanted to ask
Mhm.
you about what practical steps can ordinary Gambians take to support someone experiencing anxiety, depression, trauma, and other mental health challenges in the country, and how can we recognize early warning signs in ourselves or others, and when it is time to speak for professional help.
We
Yeah,
have to we have to incorporate mental health and psychology in our schools. We have to
yeah,
make that one of the most important courses, just like math and English is important. We have to
yeah,
make sure we put those courses in our school. We have to start from the elementary school all the way up. That's the first way to break the whole entire cycle. And
yeah,
as of now, do you know I told you that one in every three adults is suffering from mental illness here in the state. So
yeah.
Africa is even worse there. So I'm talking about where we have to come in terms that we are not well.
Mhm.
Most of us has issues because that's where the number one issue is. We have to recognize that I behave certain way because maybe, just maybe, it's my dispositioning from childhood, and accepting that is the most important part and is the hardest part in anything when it comes to mental health. Because if you don't believe that you have issues, how can you get help? We have to make sure we identify that issue first by make sure we hire professionals. The government of Africa neglect one of the most important thing, which is mental health, because we have leaders that are also dysfunctional. So how can you be a dysfunctional leader and you're leading a nation? That's the problem. America, the West, everywhere you go, they all have psychologists. Psychologists play a very important role in our community
Yeah,
here
in
in the region.
schools, in
Right.
hospitals, in
Everywhere.
everywhere.
The politicians, they have psychologists. The presidents, they have psychologists. We have to make sure we bring professional in our settings, people that are inspired to go to psychology schools, or make sure, oxygen group of women or group of men. We have to normalize that first. We have to create a space first, because this is a broken system. You're telling me a domino effect that happened 30, 40 years ago to fix that in one day? It's impossible. That's almost like insane, because it's impossible. That's just impossible. So now, moving forward, how do we mend what we have left? Now it's moving forward part. How do we coexist knowing that we are not okay? But again, in order for us to know that we're not okay, we have to accept that we're not okay. And accepting it means you have to face yourself. Facing self is very hard, brother MK, to know that I
Mm,
am messed up. I'm not okay. It's very hard. That truth. We have to learn to live our truth first before we help anyone among us. And that's where I talk about normalizing it. That's where I talk about we have to make it a phenomenon. We have to talk about it where we remove all the stigma that's attached to mental health, because right now we can't help each other because we are all messed up. We can just mend what we have left moving forward, but you can't help. No, because that's like you going back and degeneralizing everything again. People will come along, the one that actually are accepting that I have issues. But again, you can't tell everybody have issues to come on board. They're gonna look at you like you have problem. Because
mhm.
remember, exactly. So moving forward, I think we should just normalize it and keep moving forward. And the ones that want to join the bandwagon, they can come along, but we gotta keep moving. We can't stay there and trying to help people that are already messed up, don't want to believe that they have issues. We don't have time for that. We're
Mhm.
moving forward.
You have to accept the
That's
reality that you have an issue
yeah.
before it can be addressed. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess moving forward, that's the only advice I can give to the society is normalizing it, and we gotta keep moving forward. Part of moving forward is to changing the gender role, because remember, the idle mind is the most dangerous mind. So if you are raising the boy child to be idle, we're raising the boy child to be lazy. When they grow up, they all want to be wealthy, but they don't know how to even acquire wealth. They sit in there and laugh, say they go drink alcohol, they go smoke weed. I'm not
Mhm.
judging anyone, but
Yeah.
because they're lazy, they have too much time in their hands. The other day, somebody asked me about Tanka Tanka. I say, you know what I would do with Tanka Tanka if I was in charge of Tanka Tanka? I'm gonna build a farm. Every boy that you bring there that's doing drugs is gonna go farming. By the time they're done, they are too tired to even
Mhm.
act crazy. I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
the problem we have. We have lazy boys growing up not having anything to do but wandering around.
Yeah,
And they
and
want to
you
be
know,
wealthy.
drug abuse is also linked to mental health because
Number
according to
one.
data we
Yeah.
received from the Gambia is that 50% of those admitted at Tanka Tanka is either drug related issues. You know, though we have spiritual related issues which is hard to treat,
Yeah.
but majority of the patients at Tanka Tanka are mostly linked to drug abuse.
Yeah, because the idle mind is the most dangerous mind. So if you don't engage the boy child into activities, the boy child is going to grow up idling. The boy child is going to grow up expecting things to come to him. Because remember, we already treating them like princesses. So that entitlement is what's affecting a lot of youth, a lot of young boys in Africa, because they can't even take accountability because they've been protected their whole lives. So all of a sudden, you want to be a millionaire, you don't even have an identity of who you are. So until and unless we switch the gender role, any parent that's watching me right now, if you have a daughter and a son, reverse the role that way we are taught. Make sure the boy child goes to market. Make sure he does the cleaning. Make sure he does the cooking. The girl child responsibility, let her go to school and rest.
Let
That's the
her
only
go to the
advice I can tell you
yeah.
guys moving forward.
Absolutely. Dr. Mimi Sise, thank you for that brilliant expose. Guys, that will bring us to the end of this a very interesting conversation. Mimi, we have been talking for 1 hour, 40 minutes, and then, you know, our scheduled time is just 1 hour. But because the topic that we discussing is very fundamental and is very, very, very important, you know, because these are topics that we hardly discuss in our space. One reason we created this platform so that we can raise awareness on mental health and how professionals and communities can help people struggling with mental health. Dr. Mimi, many thanks for, you know, accepting my invitation to be on. You are my first guest for this new because I have been hosting the final take. I nearly even said this brought us to the end of the final take with MK, forgetting that this is Talk to Alkamba, a very new program that will be bringing in experts. Sometimes Mimi will even step in for me to host this show. You know, you can invite your own people to come in and then have this conversation, Mimi.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you, brother FK. It's very humbling. I haven't done interview in such a long time.
yeah,
And I was coming in today and I was contemplating because I do
yeah.
have like migraine. So I was like, okay, my headache. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
my
I know.
vertigo because I get dizzy all the time.
Yes,
But I was like, you
yeah,
know
yeah.
what? I'm committed. I'm committed to my people. I'm going to make sure I speak to the best of my ability. And hopefully my words will cross over. And I want to thank you for the opportunity. And for the viewers, my supporters out there, I am truly, truly, truly grateful for your support. I am truly, truly thankful for each and every one of you. I see you, I hear you, and I'm with you all the
But
way.
some people misunderstood you, Mimi. What do you have for them? Because for the first time they'll be like, oh, we thought Mimi is the kind of a controversial woman, but today maybe you have changed their perspective about you.
So I think the misconception that I have most out there is I hate men, and that makes me laugh. And I'm like,
No,
wow,
if you hate men, meaning you hate your brother too.
Thank you. And it's like, wow, that's exactly the message that I'm sending out there. This really breaks my heart because if you understand where I came from, I'm a daddy's girl. I love my dad, and I'm a mother of a son.
Yeah.
I have utmost respect for men. But the thing is everything that I'm saying, it actually benefits men more than women. Because remember, I'm teaching these men to be held accountable and responsible. That's all. I don't put anything out there that's gonna say I hate men, but holding you accountable. And part of healing is holding yourself accountable. And we have to make sure we normalize accountability. We can't sit here when things go wrong, you blame the genes, it's the devil's work. No, when things go wrong, well, allocate dialogue. God actually wanted this to happen this way. Where is your accountability? Don't start blaming the unseen forces based on the action and your choices that you made. You have to hold yourself accountable that I messed up. Dr. Mimi is right. I need to check myself before insulting me. I love my brothers. I listen. I am doing all this because I want you guys to connect with who you truly are. Love is the most beautiful thing for anyone to experience. But if your crown chakra is not open, you can never experience love. And I want you guys to live, fulfill your mission in this dunya. Make sure when you're leaving, you left a mark by showing that empathy and the kindness and the love you have in your heart. Love yourself, my brothers. Put love into yourself because if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love your wives? If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love your children? That's all I'm preaching. That's all I'm saying. And please forgive me. I don't hate men at all.
Okay, I will put that disclaimer on. Mimi Cisse don't hate men. He
No.
is doing everything to make sure that men do their responsibilities. Many thanks once again, Dr. Mimi Fatu Cisse, for your time to share your experience with my audience on the first maiden edition of Talk to Alkamba. We will be back next week again with another inspiring and exciting conversation on a different topic. Mimi, thank you once again for your time. Until
Bye.
then,
Thank
we'll come your
you.
way next week. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.
Yes.